Hello learners, welcome to the new course on learning and development in organization. As you would have seen in the introductory video, in this particular session we'll be looking into the nuances of learning and development in organization as a vertical, as way to learn and improve within the organization, for the organization specifically, for the individual specifically. We'll look into all the different units, all the different stakeholders associated with the organization, and we'll try to develop an integrated learning. I'm Dr. Cyril Issac. I'm an assistant professor at the School of Business, Indian Institute of Technology, Guwahati. The first session today will look into a strategic introduction to learning and development in organization. Now, we must have heard about learning, we must have heard about development in different contexts, but when it comes to learning and development as a vertical, let's understand it right from the beginning. We'll look into this in greater detail by following the theme. Tell me, I forget, teach me, and I remember, involve me, and I learn. So this will be the underlying theme that will be going through the entire session today. So when you look into some aspects, if you reflect specifically with respect to this quote, tell me, I forget, teach me, I remember, involve me, I learn, will understand that there is a certain level of more involvement which is directly proportional towards learning. So more you are involved, more you are engrossed in some activity, the learning becomes much more vivid. It enhances in itself. That's what my request to all of my students out here also. Now let's start with the basics. Let's understand what is this learning and development. L&D is an essential internal function. When you're talking about learning and development as an essential internal function specifically aimed at enhancing an organization's capability. So this magnification, this enhancement is what the primary objective is. As a part of the broader HR framework, if you ask me, to acknowledge that learning is a continuous and evolving process. So it's not a one-stop activity. You did it and that's the end of it. No, it's a continuous evolving process, and L&D is constantly all about adapting and expanding to address the challenges and drive growth. So since change is a fundamental aspect of life, specifically reflecting on how we have navigated, significant transitions can provide valuable insights for personal and professional development, if you ask me. So when you're looking into learning and development per se, I would want you to travel through the timeline. The role of perception and experience in learning will go through different perspectives. Let's start with the William James perspective of 1819. So understanding how individuals learn is vital, is essential for designing the effective L&D programs. So this typical part covers the key social principles that influence the learning in the workplace. We'll start with William James' perspective. Now, William James' perspective on learning emphasizes that perception shapes reality. And this is the beauty, meaning individuals interpret new knowledge based on past experiences and past expectations. So he viewed learning as an adaptive process. So when we discuss about it as a continuous learning, it is all about being adaptive. It's an adaptive process where people refine skills through trial, through reflection, and through adjustment. So he argued that the people are more likely to embrace learning when they see a direct personal benefit, typically. So learning is not passive, but an active construction of meaning influenced by your prior knowledge, your prior experiences, etc. Let's take an example to understand this. Employees who have had positive, let's say, coaching experiences, all right, they are more receptive to training than those who had poor experiences. So this will show how they are involved in terms of a direct personal experience per se. Now, when you look into the learning process in the workplace, learning is not confined to formal training. It's not confined. It's a continuous process, as I already mentioned, that happens naturally across different environments, including home. So if you think that learning happens only outside home, please do not make that mistake. Including home, it's a continuous learning process. So employees learn through experiences, through observations, through interactions, adapting to new challenges and evolving workplace demands. We take an example of a customer service representative who learns formally through product training, but informally by observing the senior colleagues handle different customer interactions, etc. So might be that there is a positive structured learning process which is very formal, but we also have to acknowledge and appreciate that there is also an informal element or informal angle associated to that. Now when you are looking into employee learning process in the workplace, they go generally through a three-phase learning cycle. The three-phase essentially is prediction, adaptation, and reflection. So when you're talking about these three aspects, before encountering a new challenge, individuals assess their existing knowledge and anticipate the possible outcomes. So this anticipation helps them mentally prepare and identify areas where they need support and learning specifically. Adaptation is the second angle to it. Employees apply their knowledge in real time and adjust their approach based on the feedback and the experience that they have. So this stage involves, what we generally say as trial, error and refinement to improve performance, etc. And third, we have the reflection. Reflection or review and reinforcement, as I will state it, after completing a task, individuals analyze their performance, recognize successes and identify areas for improvement. So this reflection, typically if you ask me, strengthens long-term learning and prepares them for similar future challenges. Now, let's understand it from examples. Most of my classes, most of my sessions, I would try to give you ample number of examples so that the learning itself is practical, the learning itself is pragmatic, and you understand it in a better fashion. Let's say a new team leader, that's the prediction, anticipates that managing deadlines and coordinating team efforts will be challenging. So they attend, the leadership training and research projects, management techniques, etc. So during their first project, that is typically the adaptation, they test different communication strategies to ensure the team stays on track. After this, after the project completion specifically, what you have is the reflection. So they review team feedback, identify areas for better delegation and apply these insights to their next assignment typically. Now this is what the learning process in the workplace through the three-phase model goes through. Now let's understand the impact of mindset on learning. This is an important aspect. Whatever be the learning, whatever be the attempt towards learning, if you do not have the right mindset, if you do not have a proper mindset, then it might turn out to be futile. So the impact of mindset on learning, we'll follow the Carol Dweck's growth versus the fixed mindset model. So let's look into that. Employees with a fixed mindset may resist training because they believe that their abilities are innate and unchangeable. Whatever I have. You cannot question me. I have these many talents. I have these many abilities. I will work according to that fixed mindset. But when you are looking into somebody who is having a growth mindset, they believe that they can improve skills through effort. Look around you, look around your organization, your society, your workplace, anywhere and everywhere you interact, you will see these two types of people. One with a fixed mindset, another with a growth mindset. So typically, you're looking into these set of people and employees who struggle with advanced, let's say, A particular example could be that when you take into any particular aspect, let's say advanced Excel training, employees who struggle with advanced Excel training may either persist with the growth mindset or give up with the fixed mindset. So, fixed mindset, growth mindset, both of these we see the people who adapt, they are more into the growth mindset. Now we'll have another look into the traditional aspect of training versus learning development. So if you look into the numberization typically, so second aspect, we look into the traditional versus modern training approach. We look into organizations who have evolved from one-dimensional training programs to multi-dimensional development strategies that focus on long-term growth. So training versus learning and development, traditional training model is all about the one-dimensional approach. It focuses on short-term skill development, primarily concerned with technical skills and let's say something like compliance training. You look into safety as an example, you look into software instructions, installation, onboarding sessions. They are all more into the compliance aspect or compliance training modules. Whereas you look into the modern L&D approach, and this is where I want you to focus on, it focuses on long-term career and personal growth, and typically it includes experiential learning, it includes soft skills, it includes leadership development. So whatever is like leadership coaching, cross-functional mentoring, project-based learning, all these aspects are typically included in the training versus learning and development. When we look into the second part of this, like as types of development activities, we see that lot of these programs are already in place in industry as well as in academia. You're seeing buddying and mentoring, where senior employees or senior co-workers guide junior employees or junior co-workers. This is typically buddying and mentoring system. We do have the coaching. Coaching is one-on-one sessions that focuses on skill enhancements and typically the career growth. You must have also heard, or I would like to introduce you to shadowing. Shadowing is observing experienced colleagues to learn informally. So there is no formal written document that you are being mentored or you are being put up as a buddying system with this particular individual. No, it's more about an experiential learning. It's more about observing experienced colleague to learn informally. Then we have the action learning by solving real-time problems, real-time issues that the organization typically faces. And then there are immersion experiences. Immersion experiences are typically where employees are placed in challenging environments to learn new skills. So these are the different types of development activities. Now let's look into the typical organizational development through human resource development. So we understand this in a very crude form in the HRM courses, human resource management courses, but here I would want you to look into it from a competitive advantage angle. So organizations at the core, if you ask me, they are structured collaborations where individuals come together to achieve a particular common goal. So they operate by organizing resources, processing them to add value, and engaging in exchanges to generate the revenue. So since people play a critical role in every stage of this process, developing their skills, developing their knowledge and innovative capabilities is essential for improving organizational performance. I'll add on to a particular word, strategic intent. Many a time, most of my classes, I try to reciprocate this. When your goal, personal objectives, personal goals are in alignment, are in connection or tandem with the organizational objectives, you see that there is a synchronization that's happening. And whatever you are working, whatever you are trying to do is for the benefit of the organization. So this larger viewpoint, this bigger picture is what you typically need when you're looking into organizational development per se. So when you're talking about organization development Through human resource development, I am essentially meaning that the personal objectives, personal goals, individual objectives should be in alignment with the organizational objectives, organizational goals. That will be the strategic intent. That will give the organization the much needed strategic competitive advantage. So when you look into this competitive advantage, we can gather or we can get this through learning and development. While organizations may have a clear objective or clear set parameters and strategic roadmaps, they must continuously adapt to intense market competition. So as in any of my sessions, I'll heavily try to invoke the research that is going behind these particular domains. So research by Zavialova, Kucherova and Saibova 2018 on Russian IT companies during an economic crisis that revealed that the businesses investing in employee development were more innovative and responsive, securing a suitable competitive advantage despite the limited resources. So organizations that cut learning and development budgets often faced declining competitiveness. Therefore, prioritizing HRD is crucial. Human resource development is crucial for maintaining long-term success and securing the skill talent. Now let's have a comparison with respect to learning organizations versus static organizations. You look into learning organization, case in point, Google, Amazon, they invest in economic development, the point which we were discussing. They promote the continuous learning, if you ask me, continuous learning and innovation. When you look into the static organizations, on the other hand, see that learning and development as a cost, it's not an investment. It has to be done, but it incurs a certain cost. So they are also not very much positive towards the learning and development, and they struggle to keep up with the industry shifts because they are not having that sense of belongingness. They do not have the sense of ownership with respect to the learning and development program specifically. So organizations typically, if you ask me, face two major types of challenges. One would be short-term crisis, another would be the long-term market shifts. So addressing this requires a workforce that is adaptable, that is innovative, which is where L&D plays a vital role, and L&D supports this by fostering leadership, cross-organizational collaboration and creative exploration, etc. Now let's take an example of this Google innovation. A prime example of effective learning-driven innovation is Google, which encourages employees to dedicate part of that 20% of the independent projects. So this is a prime example which encourages employees to dedicate part of their time. So they are given that freedom, they are given that resources, time specifically to conduct independent projects. So this policy has led to the creation of several breakthrough products, demonstrating how structured L&D initiatives fuel both individual growth and organizational competitiveness. So if you ask me, companies that integrate learning, development and knowledge management create environments where employees thrive, ultimately driving sustainable business success. Now let's look into the role of leadership in learning culture. Leadership has a typical role in learning. Specifically, a learning-oriented organization fosters continuous employee growth. It keeps the teams engaged, it is more innovative if you ask me, and more or less it is adaptable to the industry changes. So it enhances job satisfaction, it enhances collaboration and overall business success. So if you ask me, the role of leadership is all about setting the example. How leaders can promote a learning culture is by leaders who prioritize their own learning. They attend the training. Let's say some of you who are leaders, top-notch leaders in your organization, you are attending this training program, reading industry updates or sharing insights. They set a precedent for the team. So setting the example is one good aspect or one way. Allocating time for learning is yet another way. Encouraging employees to dedicate time for upskilling ensures that Learning is seen as a valuable investment rather than an extra burden, as we just discussed. Some of the organizations, they do consider it as a mere cost. A third possibility is providing resources and opportunities. So ensuring access to training programs, mentorship and career development paths motivates employees to enhance their typical skills. Now, the power of learning networks is also something which we have to look into. Learning doesn't only come from formal training sessions. Please note that. Some of the most effective development occurs through peer-to-peer collaboration and knowledge exchange. So that will have certain benefits, typically like it encourages cross-functional collaboration by allowing employees from different teams to typically share knowledge. It creates a supportive learning community where employees feel empowered to ask questions, exchange insights, etc. Or it helps retain institutional knowledge, ensuring that the skills and expertise are passed down within the organization. Let's take a typical example. Many organizations implement, if you have heard, the lunch and learn scheme. Lunch and learn sessions where employees present on topics they specialize in. So tech companies often host maybe coding workshops, while business firms can encourage employees to share the best practices in leadership, in negotiation or customer relationship for that matter. So such programs create a continuous flow of knowledge, reinforcing a culture of shared learning specifically. The impact of employee engagement is also vital because engaged employees are actively involved in their work, they are invested in their growth and committed to their organization's success. So why learning drives engagement and retention? You feel that the employees feel valued when they see the company invest in their growth. Learning opportunities prevent stagnation by keeping employees challenged and motivated. Continuous development fosters loyalty, reducing turnover and increasing organization stability altogether. An example could be that companies with strong L&D have lower turnover. So as I mentioned in my introductory video, we'll be also giving you some practical insights, and most of the sessions I'll try to bring in some industry orientation, and specifically this is the first case study that we'll look into specifically with respect to the learning and development at Yelp. Most of you might have, at least you must be aware of this organization. So when you're looking into this individual, James Balagot, the head of learning and development at Yelp, he had played a pivotal role in scaling the company's workforce from 100 to 4,000 employees. So despite being the sole person in the L&D team, Yelp has achieved exceptional results in employee growth and engagement with its L&D score typically. So the key learning and development strategies that were taken up has two fundamental principles. One is placing employees in stretch roles. When you're talking about employees in stretch roles, we'll detail on that. Second is promoting from within. So when you're looking into placing employees in stretch roles, employees are encouraged to take on challenging roles beyond their experience level from day one. So they learn by doing, with mentorship, with coaching, rather than just relying solely on structured training programs. So a typical example would be that Balagot himself started in a sales role without prior experience, gaining first-hand knowledge and learning on the job. That was the way he led from the front. Impact was that employees developed problem-solving skills, resilience and adaptability, learning to foster career growth and improved job performance specifically. If you ask inward-looking strategy, something like promoting from within, Yelp prioritizes internal promotions, ensuring employees have clear career progression options. So 98% of the mid-market national sales and sales management roles are typically filled by internal candidates. Mentorship is deeply embedded as leaders nurture talent to take over their roles, facilitating continuous career advancement. So typically the impact was employees feel valued and motivated, reducing the turnover and fostering a culture of mentorship. Onboarding and career development was yet another important activity. If you ask the statistics, with almost 60% of the workforce in sales most employees start with little or no sales experience, to be honest. So the onboarding process includes practical training, it includes mentorship, it includes motivational talks from senior employees who share their career growth stories at Yelp. So failure is normalized as part of the learning journey, helping employees stay resilient and focused on the long-term success. So the impact was that new hires gain confidence, they have the persistence, they have a strong developmental mindset, leading to higher engagement and performance. The second important aspect would be handling mistakes and employee growth. So Yelp acknowledges that mistakes happen, but instead of punishing failures, employees are held accountable while also being supported in their improvement process. So the focus remains on learning from mistakes, providing constructive feedback, and creating opportunities for growth. So the impact is typically employees feel safe to take risk and innovate, leading to a stronger, more agile workforce. So Yelp's learning culture thrives on hands-on experience, mentorship, and internal mobility. By placing employees in stretch roles and prioritizing promotions from within the company ensures which a continuous employee development is happening, a higher engagement is there, a long-term retention is there. So when you're looking into this particular session, the first session of learning and development, specifically with respect to the case study of Yelp and how the organization did what it could, and also with respect to the initial discussions, we underscore that learning and development is primarily important for any organization. So if the organization wants to have a resilient workforce, if an organization wants to have a typical developmental growth mindset, then learning and development is vital for every single organization. This is where we stop today. We'll look into more details of learning and development from an introductory angle in the next session too. Thank you for listening to me patiently. See you in the next class. Thank you.